your vision gets killed and what to do about it. This is a topic that I have been discussing with several of humanitarians recently, and I can see that there is a bit of a trend of this constant feeling of we're not living the vision that we have for our lives. And it almost feels like we're not supposed to be living life this way, right? It's like we know that there is more possible, or we know that there is a different way of living possible, but we still feel like we're not there, or we still feel like this is not how it's supposed to be. And if any one of you in this situation, I would like to share as to what is actually killing your vision. And especially if you feel like your vision is not there yet, or got killed, whatever you mean by it, because that's the term that I heard recently. And what you want to be doing about it, or what is it that you can do about it, instead of constantly feeling like you're chasing the vision and the vision is not there, or you have the vision but you're not living the vision, and then why that's happening. And I feel like if many of you and many of the humanitarians who listen and watch me or talk about this reflect on why do we keep letting our visions get killed and what we can do about it, I'm hoping that you will have more power to do something with it. So, let me first start by saying how my vision was when I was transitioning, right? And this is, I think, is just to illustrate visions that don't need to be anything that is so unattainable, or feeling like, I don't know, something that is so intangible in some way. It doesn't need to be that way. So my vision at the time when I was leaving the UN, when I felt like I was just surviving my life and I wanted to live my life instead of surviving, the vision that I had at the time was that I wanted to be with my loved ones. I wanted to do something that I love, and replicating my UN Peace 3 salary. This was it, right? It was very tangible in that way, in the most tangible that you can think of, because all of them are observable, right? So if I achieve this thing, it is observable by everyone. If I achieve this thing, it's observable by everyone. So you can also do that for yourself. Whatever that vision that you have, is it observable by others if they can see it? So, and then as I moved through my transitioning, I realized that the main thing that I was really trying with my vision for my life was to remove hypocrisies, remove misalignments, essentially, right? Because I also want to make this relatable to people who feel like they're just surviving and they don't have life, or they don't, the reality currently looks like full of wars and conflicts, and feeling like, what vision are we even talking about? And for all of those people, I feel you, I hear you. So therefore, the vision can also simply mean, are we doing things at least that make sense to us? Are we doing things that we are really, we can stand behind it? That might also be. Or another way of looking at it is, are we using the capacity that we have to the extent that we want to? That can also be the vision, right? But for me, coming back, the real topic really was the vision that I had. Like, if I look at it more from a qualitative perspective, right, then the vision that I had was, okay, can I live my life in the most honest way? Whatever that honesty that I was craving, right? So, honesty about the work that I was doing, honesty about how I was earning money, honesty about how I'm spending my day, and in getting rid of those hypocrisies and misalignments. And misalignments and hypocrisies were something like I felt like I was doing a good job on paper, and in the actual work, I didn't feel like that was really what was I supposed to be doing. Right? The hypocrisies were, on the one hand, getting the donors money and justifying and all of this and telling them how we put the people affected by the crisis at the forefront of our decision making, and they are our decision makers and all of this, but in reality prioritizing donors and what they wanted versus what the actual people on the ground were actually saying is needed. Right? So these type of hypocrisies that I felt were so not part of who I am and how I want to live my life. And of course, there were many other hypocrisies that if I keep talking about it, I think it will be a long video or a long episode. So that's why all I want to say with this is that, okay, when I was building that vision of how I want to live my life, I was really also looking at what are the things that I don't want to have in my life anymore. And I think that's a very valid starting point for many people, because many people have difficulty articulating how that vision could look like, because they are coming out of that survival, because they are only now starting to realize, okay, how do I, like, if you're like me, right, in the 30s and 40s and feeling like, oh, I have another 30, 40 years of active life left, how do I want to spend it? And in that reflection, you may not immediately come to a beautiful vision of how your life could look like, and that's okay. But at least the starting point can be that these are the things I no longer want to be having as part of my life. And then starting from there could also be a great place to be. Now, let's talk more about, let's say that the vision that you have. So, my vision after getting rid of the hypocrisies and the misalignments, I realized the vision that I had was I wanted to do something that feels genuinely valuable, right? Feels like truly, if I do this, this will change my life in the sustainable way. This will make my contributions genuine. This will make sense to be doing this way. I think that's really what I envisioned for my life, is how can I create value in the world in the way that's genuinely wanted, genuinely used, genuinely used to change people's lives. And not because this is part of a system, or because part of a, I don't know, this is just how we do things, or the part of we couldn't find any other solution, this was the only solution that everyone agreed on. That's what I didn't want, right? So therefore, that was the vision of genuinely creating value and doing it out of the experiences and tested ways of doing things, and not out of theory, right? So, in other words, as we call it nowadays, embodied way of doing things. So, I have done this in my life, and I have seen how this works in other people's lives, and then finding out how it works for people who have never done this before. The other part of the vision that I had is also doing it in a non-forceful way, right? So alignment for me is doing things out of love and out of genuinely wanting to do this, and not because you have to do it. So now let me come to the topic of why your vision gets killed. Let's say that you're thinking about how you would like to live your life, whether it might be with your family and loved ones, whether it might be finally doing something that makes sense, whether it might be making money, whatever it is that you are envisioning for your life, for the next chapter of 30 years, 40 years, whatever that is, or even maybe for the next year, right? The first reason that your vision gets killed is obviously the survival part of our experience. So when we are surviving, it is damn challenging to be thinking about visions. In fact, it will be not only ridiculous, it will be like you want to laugh in the face of someone who's talking about visions. When I was surviving, if someone talked about vision, I would just tell them, "Oh, it's a Western concept. Don't even bring this to me because I can't even think about it," right? That's how you will feel. And that's normal. And that's how it is. Because when we are surviving, obviously, we need to be getting out of that state first before we can even think about how we want to design our lives. And also, we may have a lot of reasons or arguments as to how thinking about vision may not even work in that environment. And I totally understand. But the message that I want to bring here though is that in life, whatever that circumstances is, whether it's a war circumstances, whether it's a conflict, whether it's the poverty, whether it's whatever it is, right? Whatever the circumstances is, I would like for you to think about what if you as a human is so beyond powerful that you can choose either to let the outer circumstances dictate your life or you let your vision dictate your life. And as difficult as might sound when I say it and when you hear it, and you may feel like, oh, that's so not true, or it doesn't feel like true. And as I said, I hear you. But if we keep letting the outer circumstances dictate how we live our lives, then we will be always surviving. And someone who has survived her whole life for 30, 35 years, this is what I have realized. So, the first thing is the thing that kills is survival, which is how the outer circumstances, the job market, everything else keeps screaming at you and saying how you cannot live the life you want to. And that's how your vision gets killed. So if it's not even because of the outer circumstances, but it is because your brain will make the outer circumstance mean that therefore you cannot live the life you want to, and that will derail you to the direction that you don't even want to. Right? Because our brains are meaning making machines, if this makes sense. So whatever we have around us, we will always be making that mean something. So let me give you an example. During the COVID time, 2020, I was in a long distance relationship. It was with someone else, not my husband. So to keep up that distance relationship, he needed to come over and I needed to go and visit. And because of the lockdown in a lot of places, he was, I think, in UK at the time. Um, uh, I was traveling to different places and he was traveling to come in to different places, right? I was in Ukraine at the time. And as I realized that even though it was lockdown and everything was like stalled, I also realized that I was booking tickets and going and meeting him in other places, and he was coming and meeting me. The planes were working. There were not many people, but the planes were working, and we were all going and traveling. Now, in that moment, it would have been very easy for both of us to say that, well, the outer circumstance obviously dictates that we should just stop seeing each other and stop our relationship. But because our relationship was more important than whatever fears we had around, we made that happen, right? And And that's when I realized that, okay, outer circumstances may scream as much as they want to, but we are the ones making that mean something about our lives. And when we have the vision of how we want to live our lives, and if we keep letting outer circumstance dictate how we will, then it will be like two chefs in the kitchen. I don't know if you guys know the phrase, right, that we often use. I think in the humanitarian setting, we use this: too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Meaning that nothing gets done because we keep listening to a lot of different cooks, and then the meal doesn't get done. And the same goes for the vision that you are having, is that whatever that vision that you want to live, if you keep listening to the outer circumstances, they will tell you how to live. If you keep listening to your own vision of how you want to live, you will have an idea. And if they keep clashing, then nothing gets done. And eventually you will actually not live the life you want to. That's how I think a lot of people are struggling currently. So that's why we need to make a decision to either decide to keep listening to the outer world, which will make us feel surviving the whole time because that's how our brains are wired, or we finally decide to learn how powerful we are as human beings, that we can keep listening to our own vision of how we want to live and pursue that. And that's how I did in my own life as well. That when I was transitioning, there was no one who was doing coaching, or at least in the humanitarian setting, that felt like who was very successful and making the UNP3 salary doing it. If I listened to the outer world at the time, I would have said, okay, no one is doing it, no one has the capacity or knows how to do it, or it's not possible. Therefore, why pursue this in the first place? But because I was so fed up with whatever's going on in my life at the time, that I thought, I don't care, I will make this work. Right? I don't care about the outer circumstance. I don't care about what other people did, didn't do, tried, or didn't try. I want to make this work because I can no longer live with myself, with all the hypocrisies, all the skepticism and sarcasm and cynicism and all of this. I no longer want that to be part of my life. And that's how I decided not to let the outer circumstance kill my vision, meaning the survival killing my vision, right? So that's the first reason why you need to be careful as to whether you're listening to your vision as you go and implement it, or whether you are going and listening to the outer circumstances that are screaming at you, saying that how this is not possible, that's not possible, who are you kidding, da 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 da, because that's what outer circumstance will be always saying. There will always be crisis, there will always be wars, unfortunately, and there will always be other people who will be telling you how this is not possible. So the secret to keeping the vision alive and living it is actually listening to it more than you are listening to the outer circumstances. The second reason why your vision gets killed, and this is very similar to the first one, but the part that I find it so fascinating is that many of us, including myself, we spend more time on how we cannot make this work, how we cannot make that work, how this is not working, how this is not how it's supposed to be, how I'm afraid, how is this, how is that. We spend more time on that, on thinking and worrying and feeling and doubting and all of this, than actually living it and doing it. As I said, you guys, I am like so good at overthinking around it rather than actually doing it, right? And then I realized, okay, this pattern needs to stop. because because if we keep living life in the way that how I can't do this, I can't do this, da 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 da, and then not actually doing it, then we're not living the vision from the get-go, right? Somehow I think we have this approach to vision as if like it is something that's there somewhere in the future, then happens, and when that happens, then I will be living and all of this, whatever, right? But that's the wrong approach, because if we keep putting the vision in the pedestal somewhere there, we will never get to live it. It will become that famous Kyrgyz anecdote, by the way. I never thought that I would share my Kyrgyz anecdote with you guys, but I will because it's so funny. So, we have this anecdote in Kyrgyz where a family buys a sack of potatoes, right? Because we usually tend to have big families, and we buy a bag of potatoes, and then every evening when the mom cooks, usually that's the traditional family, right? Mom cooks the meal. The mom asks a son or a daughter, doesn't matter, go and get the potato to cook the meal with. But the part that's so fascinating is that the mom says, go get the potato that's already gone bad, so we eat that first, right? So then someone made this observation and thought, okay, we end up eating the sack of potatoes, only the ones that are gone bad. We are not eating the good ones. We're always eating the potatoes that are gone bad. And by the time we come to the actual potatoes that are good, they have also gone bad. So therefore, irony is that we're not even eating the good potatoes that we have. We're only eating we end up eating um, the bad ones, meaning the ones that are like about to get destroyed, right? And I feel like that's really the so representative of how visions are, is that if we keep going and thinking about how we're not living the vision, how we are supposed to do this, how we're supposed to do that, and we're not doing it, we will never get to live the vision. It's another example that comes to mind is, so I'm developing this app, as I told you guys. I'm developing this app that I will introduce very soon. So first, I had this vision of how this app could look like and how I would love to bring this value to all my people and all of this, and it was all great. And then, of course, my brain came up with all the reasons and objections as to why I can't do it and how I can't do it, how I'm this, how I'm that, da 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 da. And actually, I wasn't developing the app, right? I wasn't actually sitting with AI and developing the app itself. I was just going around thinking about how millions ways of how it's not possible. And then I was saying, okay, I need to be honest with myself. Either I'm doing this or I'm not doing it. There's no reason or point in me keep going against myself and against my own vision. Right? If I said this is a great vision, I would love to do this, and then hear me who comes up with millions of reasons how I can't do it, then I need to be honest with myself, right? Like coming back to that honesty that I was talking earlier. Either I'm actually doing the app and solving the problems and getting that to the world, or I'm not doing it. But I can't be in between. And I always remind myself and also remind my clients that we can't be in between all the time because it's exhausting. And not only it's exhausting, it's like to the potato example of how we're always then end up eating the potatoes, they're gone bad. And if we want to live the vision that we have for ourselves, we need to start living from the time we thought of that vision, start living it in that moment in the observable way, meaning that if other people saw it, they will see that you're actually living it, excuse me, as much as you are feeling it and living it as well. Right? So that's why inner monologues, inner bitchery, or whatever that, all of that, like, I can't do this and I can't do that, and it's not how it's supposed to happen, and da da da, will rob us from actually living the vision that we have for ourselves. And I'm assuming that that's not how we want to be actually spending our next 30 years of our lives. Definitely, I don't want to do that. Right. So therefore I realized, okay, as much as my ego brain wants to chat about how this is not possible and that's not how it's supposed to be, I need to just get down to actually doing it and experiencing it, learning it, and then coming to the other side. That's it. So my message with this is really If you have a vision of how you would like your life to be, amazing. If you don't, it's okay too. But you can start with what are the things that you don't want to have in your life anymore, because that probably you already know very well. At least a lot of clients who come to me, they already know what are the things they no longer want to. Once you have that, you start then realizing, okay, how I can actually live that vision now in my current daily life. So if I put it into a very practical things, if my vision is to not force myself and do things that the way I want to, then not forcing also means not waking up at the hours that I used to for work because I was forced to do that. But now I no longer need to do that. Right? So I wake up when I want to wake up and do the things in the way that I want to, do the creative things that I want to, do the things that makes me feel good and joyous, and at the same time create that value that genuinely someone wants to use to improve whatever they are wanting to work on. Right? That would be my vision of how I would be living in the day to day. And that may not be in the beginning, and that's okay, but at least we need to train our bodies and our mind as to how not just keep thinking about what the vision could be, but actually living it in the day to day. Because that's only how we know if this is the vision that we wanted or not. And if not, then we have more opportunity to change things rather than keep thinking and theorizing about it and then not actually ever living it. Okay, my dears. So if you want to have whatever the vision implemented into practice, right, into the daily day practice, into even if you can't implement all of it, some of it to day-to-day practice so you can integrate and you start living that vision, and from that vision creating whatever the impact or whatever the outcome, money, whatever it is that you want to create. If you can do that, then the outcomes would be a lot different. Oh, I see that I have someone sending me comment. Hi Samson. Thank you for sending me comment. So, if you would like to do this, finally have the courage to get clear on the vision or the vision that you already have, put it into practice, and put it into practice in a way that works for you, even if it's on the outside of work. Let's do this together. So, if you'd like to be part of my Humanitarian Millionaire group, amazing. I would love for you to come with your vision, or come with your ideas of how you would like that vision to become a reality, and we make that into a reality. Hi Zaid, thank you so much. I love that people are here watching and commenting. I love this. Thank you so much for being part of this. So I can't wait to see you in the group where we will discuss the vision and how we put it into practice in the most concrete, tangible way so that you get to experience it now instead of that thing somewhere in the future. Have a beautiful week, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.